this is a new build for January 17th, 2025. We're going to go and run the same battery of tests again, specifically with the Polaris.
Welcome to the ASOP.
So, for those of you who have not been looking at some of my earlier tests, this is essentially testing out the Polaris for severe frame rate drop, or FPS drop, frames per second.
Your vehicle has been relocated.
The frame rate drop is so severe, we're hitting levels of 1 FPS, or even in cases, 0 FPS, when we have complete frame generation stopping. Or reaching levels where frame generation is measured in seconds, not milliseconds. That's what I've been seeing so far. So I've seen it in a variety of contexts, mainly in the hangar, and also seeing that outside of the hangar at the docking port, and also outside of the immediate area, outside the station, like asteroid bases, for instance. So that's one of those areas where we've seen severe FPS decreases, but there is some recovery. It's more of like a spike or a plateau, but when it's very severe, we're talking about frame generation staying in the upper bounds of 2,000 milliseconds for extended periods of time. So now we're talking like frame generation in that higher upper bound, where in the frame graph we would see the yellow line always be at the very top of the frame graph, because it's out of bounds already of 60 milliseconds. Okay, so I typically start after we get to the bridge deck. We will go towards the rear, towards the elevator, and once we get down to the cargo level deck, we make our way to even towards the rear elevator. That's when we start to see some There it is, frame rate dropped to 9. Let's see if that's just a spike. We're starting to see it come back again, in and out. So this is behavior I've seen before. But we'll know when we get down to the cargo area. Stay close to here so I can So the reason why I want to stay around this area here when I get on the elevator is that if I do hit a severe frame rate drop, but I need to keep going, I'm very close to this elevator panel, and I'm very close to the gate because I have such a severe drop in FPS that it's hard for me to turn around and get out of the elevator after pressing the button. So we will do this ladder, climb down, climb up to see if it will do the FPS drop. So this is one of those sub-test cases where it can occur. Okay, so far so good. A little bit of a spike. So usually around here's where it starts to get kind of iffy. But so far so good. Alright, so this is one of those very reproducible areas where I get a frame drop on the deployment of the ramp. So sometimes it could be a spike, sometimes it could reach maximum frame rate generation drop, or I mean increase in that, so it will severely impact the FPS. Right, here we go. Okay, so you can see from the frame rate or the frame time graph where we can start to see the plateau, and then when you look at the frame rate generation on the frame graph on the lower left corner, we're at 123, 124, up, down. Same thing with the frame time graph in the upper left. Okay, so it's kind of somewhat better, but I've seen this before. It might come back. But I think one interesting thing is if I go back to the ramp, would we start to see that frame rate drop again? Because we do have a proximity effect here. So we have it here. Alright, so what happens when I go back and store it? Will frame rate generation go back to normal? So when I see normal, when we look at the